everyone. Ooh. Before we go any further, sorry. I was just setting up my mics because I want to record this episode an audio to upload to my podcast. So I just want to make sure that hey everybody, I'm going to pretend I'm not nervous, but I'm really nervous. And there's no need for me to be nervous. I've met Dr. Des Fernandes many times over the years, and I've had the privilege to interview him many times over the years, but I guess if I wasn't a little bit nervous, it'd be more concerning. So I hope I didn't miss him and looking to join, because we've already been DMing. I got the fire emoji, so we're all good. So yeah, I just wanted to set up my microphones so that there's nothing missed, and I can then upload this, like I said, to my podcast, and then everyone gets to hear it, because I know there's a lot of people on different time zones, and I know there's a lot of people with young babies and young children, and they're asking me what time do they want to miss anything. And yes, I will have my story, Geraldine, I will have my chat with Dr. Des Fernandes on my story for 24 hours. And I've also asked one of the members of the IIA team to screen grab it for the whole duration. So she will then, I'm sure, email it to me, and I'll upload it on my YouTube channel. And like I said, I've got my mics engaged now. So we will also have it on Skin Deep by Karina Totem, which is, of course, my podcast series. So like I said, I feel really nervous, like it's my first time to interview Dr. Des Fernandes, but it's not. I've met him many times over the years. I think 2006 was the first time I met him. I went to visit him in Cape Town, and I went to his clinic, his cosmetic surgery clinic, and I met him there. And then of course I've met him quite a few times in Dublin. And 2 years ago, this summer, which is hard to believe it's that long ago, I had dinner with him in the Shelburne, and we just sneaked off into a little room in the Shelburne Hotel, and I interviewed him there. And of course, you'll find that interview on my YouTube channel. Dr. Des Fernandes is very, very down to earth and very easy, very, very passionate about skin and about Environ and about all of us. When I say all of us, all of you, his clients. Ultimately, I'm just a vessel bringing his product to you via me, and of course myself and all my colleagues and all the skin therapists who work with his brand around the world. He's so committed to us and so passionate about us and so passionate about our results and our knowledge and our education. So it's easy to talk to anybody who has that kind of passion, particularly when it's a shared passion. So Dr. Des Fernandes is joining us, of course, from Cape Town, where he is on lockdown like the rest of us. He's very, very kind to share his time, particularly with myself, because I'm not a big distributor of Environ Skincare. I'm just a skin therapist in my treatment room day after day, dying to get back to my treatment room. And yeah, so I feel very, very lucky and very blessed to have this conversation with him. So I have some questions put together. Just a few little things. You know, I could probably speak with Dr. Des Fernandes every day of my life and still have a new question for him. So I want to put all of the questions I may have. So I've just picked from the bunch, and kind of, you know, things I feel what I wanted to speak to him about at the moment is what's exciting him, you know. I just feel that we all need something to look forward to, don't we? We need to know that we have some new energy coming our way and exciting times ahead, you know, particularly in this environment. I think we need it more than ever. And that's what I'm going to pull on from Des. Oh, there he is. I'm so busy waffling away. So he's going to be joining. us now. I'm sure he's like,
Hello.
good evening. Good evening to you. You're very welcome, Dr. Des Fernandes, to share my social media platform here with me tonight. How are you?
I'm so pleased to be here with you. And of course, I've been taking the opportunity of the lockdown to work a lot on my skin.
Oh, me too. And a
Yeah.
lot of my clients as well, because it's the perfect time, isn't it? We don't mind a bit of downtime.
Yes, and also it doesn't matter how you look, so you can go to extremes.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you been going to extremes, Dr. Des?
Yes.
Oh, very
Yeah.
good. Will we go straight into what you've
And
been doing, or will we ease our way in?
well, some of it is research, so you don't have it, but you have many of the products that lead up to it. And so basically, what I've been doing
Mm-hmm.
is, first of all, I do the same thing. I did it just a short while ago. I needled my skin, the cosmetic roll kit, and I do 1 minute here, 1 minute here, 1 minute here, 1 minute here, and 1 minute here. So then I do my handheld device. And so I'm using the two manual devices, yes.
You're
I
using
think
two?
my favorite thing.
Me too.
And so I use that, and I'll tell you that I spend about 40 minutes every day treating myself.
Okay. So this is at this time in your current research. This wouldn't be a normal day in the life of Des, no.
This is not in my normal life. No,
So you're currently
wouldn't have
working
that.
and you're currently working with and trialing phase 3 and 4, a revival mask, isn't that correct? We currently have phase 1, which of course here. This is one
That's
of
actually
your most
true.
dynamic products, I
That's
would think.
that's that's facelift in a bottle 2. That one.
Perfect.
It's not the
Okay.
original one. Yes,
Okay.
and
You're right. Yes.
we're working on 3 and 4, and these. What I'm looking for is something that ultimately takes us to skincare therapists being able to get better results than if they did skin needling.
Okay.
Because skin needling is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be permitted to skincare therapists in the future.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real possibility. And so what I did is I looked at the results that I got in the early 90s when I started on the cool peel concept.
Mm-hmm.
And now I looked at it with a different eye, because I'm used to seeing what results we can get from a bout of 6 needlings in 5 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
which are probably the best. That's about the best that you can do with the needling. And I looked at the results that I was achieving in 94 and realized I was getting results comparable to that. So that means that I can tighten skin. And I was looking in this particular case not at scarring, because I think scarring is forever going to be a benefit from skin needling.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're talking about lax skin, wrinkles, that type of thing, then I believe that we can go very much further with using the cool peel technology of Environ. And as you know, the cool peel technology extends itself into the revival mask.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we've got one added thing that we can do, we've got this DF mobile machine. So we add treatments onto what we're doing. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, I have had a equivalent of a say LACM2 peel
Mm-hmm.
for maybe 10 minutes every single day
Mm-hmm.
for the past week. You saw
Okay.
me in my Canada. I started that night.
Okay, right.
And
Okay.
this is now 7 days later. And this is skin that has been peeled every single day. As you see, it's a bit red. It's a bit swollen. I'm looking a little bit tired,
Okay.
but I did this purposely because I wanted to show this is what you look like. And I've done intensive treatments. But of course, what I've had is the benefit of using the DF Mobile, and the products that I'm using is the Avance Elixir, and I use also the Retinol 3.
Okay. Both products I have here in front of me because both are huge. Your thing is you've been using, is it more cool peels? You've been rolling, applying cool peels and using the DF. Is that using it on sonos?
So what I've been looking at is when do you do what? Because, you have to, one has to have a sense of why you're doing it in the sequence that you do, or that
Okay.
I've chosen.
Yeah.
And how I feel is that the cool peel technology unlocks the early growth response DNA chain. This
Mm-hmm.
is what I believe, why we get these beautiful results without doing destructive peels.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm thinking is we unlock the early growth response DNA chain. It then is going to stimulate the genes for the growth factors that are required for regeneration.
Mm-hmm.
We then do our DF facial treatment so that we can latch on to what the early growth response chain is doing.
Okay. Very
And
good.
so we've had this technology for a long time, but now it makes very much, it's sense to combine the two in a way that you're riding on the benefits of the first treatment you do, so that the final result will be a much greater tightening, much quicker.
Okay. So you're constantly working at the peak, the growth factor is peaking.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So just to recap there, what we spoke about, what you were referring to is, of course, we as skin therapists, beauty therapists, may be limited in the future with the use of topical anesthetic, which of course is what makes the whole skin needling procedure much more comfortable. And you have always said that Revival Mask, this of course being the second generation, is the closest thing we have to needling in a jar, really, for triggering growth factors. I've always explained that how it works is by mimicking an attack on the skin, and the skin then releases growth factors as a result. So you're working with the latest technology with the Revival, and of course using it with the DF home device. Amazing. And how are you rating the results that you're getting in comparable? Because looking now, you kind of look like you've had needling, I guess, really, after doing a week of Revival.
Yes.
Mm.
I look now, if I'd done a needling around about 3-4 days ago, this is how I would look.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
certainly the day after, maybe the night after needling, I'd look like this also. But the other thing, my skin is dry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know that you get flaking and dryness with needling,
Mm-hmm.
but this one is much drier. Sometimes I wonder, can you see that little streak
Yeah.
there?
Mm-hmm. Some
Yeah,
crust.
I've got another one on my chin over here. If I'm not, like if I'm lazy and I don't smoothen it out on my surface of my skin, then it can pull a little bit, and then a little bit of a deeper peel than I actually want. But
Okay.
it's not a dangerous thing. It disappears. I'll never see a sign of it.
I assume you would be more sun sensitive after this procedure, more so than with needling.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But not that much. We've been working throughout the South African summer on people using this. We've got a sort of like a, I'm doing the I'm doing the professional treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is an associated home treatment,
Mm-hmm.
which is you don't have.
Okay.
And like Revival Mask could substitute for that at this stage.
Okay.
But what I'm also looking for is what treatment can I do for somebody who says, look, I'm going to give you a week, make the biggest changes you can for this week. Say you start on the Monday, or you start on the Saturday, and they're
Right.
going to look great on the
Yeah.
Monday, and there will be an appreciable change, which gets better, but it gets better much quicker than it does with skin needling. Skin needling, you've got to wait 6 months
Okay.
for before you say, okay, look, that's the best we're going to get now.
And tell me, Des, what concerns would you be addressing? Would pigmentation be one of the concerns?
No,
Okay.
no.
Tightening, lifting,
That's another
smoothing.
bit of that's another bit of research work that's going on.
Okay. So
Our
tightening,
team,
smoothing,
our
pore
team is
refinement.
working very hard on developing. And this is one thing I might as well tell you. You know, one of the things I was asked, would we sell Environ? Well, no, we're not, because we are committed, but our team is committed. We create, you know, I'm not the single pin, if you understand me, in
Mm-hmm.
this. We're a team, and we create the products to take us into the future. And so the teamwork will continue for very many years, and the team is very excited right now what we're producing.
As are we, and we are an extension of your team, I can assure you. We're
Yes,
here
yes.
cheering. That's exactly how I introduced you actually today. I feel in this time more than ever, we need to know the future is bright, you know, that you're optimistic and you're working on next generation of skincare. Because one thing I've noticed, you know, I'm almost 15 years working with your brand. I've noticed as it has got bigger and therefore financially better, you've pumped all, well, from what I can see, the money back into the brand. There's been so many more changes lately with it.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
so good and so refreshing to see. Actually, while we're on that subject, Des, we're currently working with 5 different forms of vitamin A within Environ Skincare. Do any more exist? And if so, do you plan on incorporating them in? And is there room for any higher amounts of vitamin A within the
well, look,
line?
first of all, let's deal with what is the maximum amount of permitted vitamin A in
Dosage.
skincare. And this is where the authorities generally work in international units, like we do.
Mm-hmm.
And the maximum is what we use.
Okay.
So you can never get any stronger.
Okay.
Now, don't think that if you use vitamin A at 50,000 international units and you use retinoic acid or you use retinol or retinol propionate, etc., there's no difference in the result.
Okay.
So none of them are stronger, if you understand me. So when we're looking at which vitamin A's we're going to use, we want to see now what is the one that's going to work best in this particular formula. And it's not that you know the one part is more active than another. The other thing we want to know is how much are we going to irritate the skin, because the different types of molecules irritate in a different way. So we've got very smooth, soft effects from propionate and from palmitate, and then more aggressive effects out of the acetate and the retinol. But they don't, the one is not stronger than the other. The one is more irritant than the other. That's the
Okay.
only difference.
Okay, so you
So
have to
we,
just proceed with caution, really.
yes, and that's why, when we launched the retinol series,
Mm-hmm.
we said to people, look, this, if you use this, you will get a retinoid reaction.
Mm-hmm.
I got a retinoid reaction on number one. I got it on number two. I got it on number three. Eventually, I had to stop, by the way, and I had to start again.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's why we said we won't listen to people who complain about retinoid reactions on retinol, because you can expect it as you step up. But
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is this, that if it's too much, just stay on the one that your skin tolerates.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't go more than that. That is the strongest that you can go. And we're in this situation where uh, we can't, if you have a look at the Environ formula, we've got the vitamin A that is crucial. We've got the antioxidants. We've got various antioxidants. We've got the blue light protectors. We've got the infrared protectors. We've got the peptides to promote more collagen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, basically, what you have to realize is that there's not too much more that you can put into a product, because now you can't add to it something to deal with pigmentation in the same product. That's why pigmentation must be quite a separate product that you add on rather than add in.
Mm-hmm.
And so our changes will be, what we've got to do is find smarter ways to use our very powerful products. And that's what
Okay,
I'm busy doing.
so really, and I often, when I'm on here talking to my own clients and my own following, I often explain it to them that we have the magic formula. Our biggest struggle is getting it into the skin. So that's how we look to our various devices like the DF and of course the home rolling system. I can't believe I didn't bring my gold roller. I'm down here every evening with my gold roller. So when using cosmetic roller at home, we are indeed, of course, getting amplified penetration of the actives. I wanted to ask you, and I wanted to ask you to clarify for me, are we also getting at a depth of 0.01 or 0.02, which of course is our two devices? I don't like calling we have the gold roller. I don't like calling it the plastic device because I feel I'm nearly letting it down, but it is, I guess, the plastic device. So are we getting any collagen regeneration from either of them, or are we only getting amplified penetration of our actives?
The only thing you get is amplified penetration.
Okay, great. I just really want you to clear that up because it's what I've always believed, and I've never sold either of those tools for anything more than that. But, there's people come in with other opinions and selling, trying to sell them to be this magic wand, which they're not. They're only as good as what you apply
That's
after
right.
creating the channels.
That's right. And we did the research work to discover that.
Great.
Because when I started with this 20 years ago, I didn't know what happened if you just rolled.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how much change would happen. And that's why we had a batch of people and we had different regimes for them.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, everybody who rolled more than 5 times a week got noticeable changes to their skin. The people who didn't, the befores and afters were the same.
Okay.
So the only benefit you might say is that they didn't deteriorate, but over 6 months, we did that study over 6 months. Not deteriorating over 6 months is not a particularly special thing.
Mm-hmm.
So so the thing is this: it's not a tool to make your skin tighter or thicker.
Okay. It is, of course. After rolling, and of course, we create those little channels so that all our actives, vitamin A, and all the rest of the wonderful ingredients we have in these products penetrate through. How long, in your opinion, do those channels stay open? I'm just curious myself. I always, in my head, I feel 4 to 6 minutes.
There's been quite a bit of research on that,
Mm-hmm.
and you can rely on pretty effective transport for maybe the first 45 minutes, and then it slowly deteriorates, or not deteriorate, but it slowly gets less effective over the next 3 hours.
Okay. Can we talk about your two advanced products, which of course are the products that you like us to roll from the onset to roll before using the advanced elixir and the advanced moisturizer? And that is of course because there's enzymes on the surface of our skin that can attack the peptides in these products. One thing I just want you to clear up for me, I have always believed that the advanced moisturizer was a preventative. I kind of describe it as the little sister, and then the elixir is the cure. I describe this as the big sister. Am I correct?
Well, I actually regard them as equals.
Equals, okay.
Yes,
Okay, they're twins.
I plan them to be equals. I also realized that there were some people who wouldn't want to use the cream, or some people who wouldn't want to use the serum. But of course, when I was planning that, I already was making plans for the DF Mobile,
Mm-hmm.
because the elixir is for the DF Mobile.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's a wonderful product to use in conjunction with that.
Absolutely stunning, and one of my favorites. There's a root extract in there too, isn't there, that helps with pigmentation? Am I correct?
Yes. Now the Meritage has the advantage, and we didn't primarily expect to see much changes. And then when we noticed in our research work that pigmented marks were disappearing just as the fine lines were. So it's a great product.
So would you say that both the advanced and elixir are for all ages? You wouldn't necessarily give the younger client the advanced moisturizer and the client in need of repair and regeneration the elixir?
Uh, you know, I don't know. I see it more different. I see it differently.
Okay.
If the person is going to buy the DF Mobile,
Then they go for the
and if
elixir.
their monthly budget allows them only one product, I'm going to say the elixir.
Okay.
If they can budget for both the cream and the elixir, I would save the elixir for the DF facial treatment, and I would use the cream as a daily, twice
Okay.
a day.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
how I do it.
Okay. Perfect. I understand. I believe you are working on a hair tonic. I believe you had one previously and you are working on one again. I'm curious about this. I'm also pretty obsessed with hair. So tell me, is there shampoo and conditioner in the pipeline, or tell me about this hair tonic?
Well, in around about 1994, my sister was walking behind me, and she turned around to me and she said, "You're getting thin hair at the back like your father, our father." And that's when I started with my hair tonic, and I've progressively improved it since then. I've also made a special hair tonic, the hair supplement, which is the Environ hair and nail tonic. And so I use these two together. Now we plan to change this product, and we were working on it, and then suddenly the manufacturer of one of our important ingredients in the one product decided that they were going to stop making the ingredient. So we suddenly had no more hair and scalp lotion to sell, because we couldn't manufacture it without the ingredient. And at that stage, we hadn't completed what research we're doing. I won't go into too much detail, but this is my natural hair, as I told you, and
Wow, Des.
it's not too grey,
I know many 30-year-olds that would love that hair.
and it's reasonably thick for my age. I'm
And
77, and so and I know that I had thin hair in '94, and I don't have a bald patch here at the back.
wow.
It's all fine, and I attribute it to the hair tonic uh, hair and nail supplement.
Brilliant. And tell me, does it contain vitamin A?
Yes, yes.
Brilliant. Because
We had it on the market until say I think it was 8 months ago. Um, uh, and it's got vitamin A. It's got a number of special ingredients in it. The new one, it's not worthwhile going into the formula for the old one because the new one has some important differences. And we hope to have it out pretty soon. Our stability tests are done. Um, so I don't know when it gets onto the market, but
I'm excited.
I can tell you if you like your hair
I
to be
do.
in top condition, it's a great product to use.
Fantastic.
One of the things that we had to deal with, by the way, was that uh, something that I never noticed, which was that people who color their hair, if they used it, they started to see the gray roots
Quicker.
sooner. So we had two problems to deal with there. I won't go into more detail than that.
Um, the reason why I ask about the vitamin A is because I get a lot of people ask me about psoriasis in the scalp, and they use the AC and the oil on it, and they get incredible results. I only put on my Instagram this morning that I don't claim to have the cure for chronic skin conditions like eczema and psoriasis. I genuinely don't, but I say to everyone, if you make skin health your goal, who knows what will happen? And a lot of times I get wonderful photos sent to me where it has really improved. And they have been even using the body duo on their scalp and getting great results, men in particular.
I periodically will use either Dermalac or a combination of Dermalac and ACE oil, or sometimes just ACE oil on my hair and sleep with it. I shower my hair, I shampoo my hair every single day. So it's a habit that I got into 60, 70 years ago. And I just keep up doing that. And so you can apply it at night and then you just wash it all off in the morning and you don't have sticky hair.
Oh, fantastic. Let's just speak about the AC oil and the Dermalac or the AC oil Forte. What an amazing duo. Like,
Yeah.
incredible, incredible product for so many things. Were you aware when you created it how wonderful it would be, or were you even surprised?
Um, I was surprised because, you know, one of the pictures that you've seen is my piano teacher's arm. And she was at that stage about 75 and had very wrinkled arms and also a particular disease called scleroderma. And I treated her with the ACE oil and Dermalac. And you know that her skin improved so much. And the one plaque, the one scleroderma plaque, actually became quite difficult to see. But it's there, but it's definitely not what it was before. And so that was an example of how it worked for old arms. I think that if you use your roll kit on your arm and you put your ACE oil, you're probably going to just keep a beautifully young skin on your arms and
Absolutely.
your legs. You
Absolutely.
can do it
Yeah.
on your legs.
Yeah.
My one patient, she's crazy about using the roll kit on her arms and legs.
Brilliant. Yeah, I do too. I love it. I love it. I find it quite therapeutic to use. Um, can you share with us your views on harsh exfoliation and treatments like microdermabrasion and hydrofacial?
Okay, well, first of all, from my point of view, the hydrofacial, I was invited to research this in around about 2006.
Hmm.
It's a version of a microdermabrasion.
Hmm.
Um, and I, I made the various formulas which were trying to see if we could use good formulas and use that device that I was given. I didn't have that name, by the way. And basically, I got very angry seeing all my valuable ingredients rushing off into the disposal bin, because that's what happens. You do your microdermabrasion and it washes through this hydra part. And I think it's a microdermabrasion. You get great results like you do from microdermabrasion for 24, 36 hours, maybe, and then you don't.
Hmm.
And I don't think that it's a positive experience for the skin. It's contrary to all the philosophy of Environ, of protecting the stratum corneum and making the skin superb tonight
Hmm.
at a big function. Doesn't matter what they look like in 2 days' time.
Hmm.
Make them look great. Okay, then you could say, well, do a microdermabrasion, a sort of like a hydrofacial,
Hmm.
but that's about it.
Yeah.
I would never, or somebody who comes to you who's got extremely rough skin, has been neglecting their skin in the sun and so on, and got very thick stratum corneum, yes, do it. And do it as a one-time experience.
Hmm.
But who's going to have a machine that they only use one time very infrequently? It's
Yeah.
not a useful machine.
Hmm.
So I started off, when we come to peels, I started off doing peels in about 1970s and towards 1978. And at that stage, the famous phenol peel was the one that people did. And then it looked as though it gave amazing smoothing.
Hmm.
And I remember seeing one person who went off to America to go to the great specialist of this to have a peel, because I refused to do it. I didn't feel comfortable to do it on her. She came back really enormously rejuvenated at that stage, except that she had a scar on her neck because they had treated her neck and got a scar. Okay, so I saw her very much later, and her face skin was awful because it was too thin. It was
Hmm.
very much the picture that you see from laser treatments, the excessive destruction from the total CO2 laser. And so then I started to work with lighter peels and started with TCA around about 85, and by lighter, we were 35%. And then what I realized is that for the pain, for the trouble, the people were not getting the smoothing.
Hmm.
So then I started to come back and sort of try to take the peel down to the level commensurate with the result that the person would get.
Mm-hmm.
And then by then I'd reached 10%. And then I thought, you know what, we need to repeat these peels once a month. And then I got down to 5%. And we would be repeating the peel once a month. And then I finally decided on one person to do once every 3 weeks. And so this was a little bit like my experience with needling. When I started needling, I didn't know how frequently to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I did it once a month, then I did it once a year sort of thing, or 6 months. And then I came down and down until eventually I was doing it once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing with the peels, that as you go to a lighter peel once a week, you get changes, and I couldn't understand why we were getting the changes. At
Mm-hmm.
one stage, I thought, you know what? These are not the changes of the peel. These are the changes of the vitamin A.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, I think now I understand why we got the changes.
Yeah.
It was the early growth response factor.
Mm-hmm. I often say you don't always have to roar and shout at the skin. Sometimes a gentle whisper is a lot more
Yeah,
effective.
that's right.
Yeah. And there's not another organ in the body that you would willingly or voluntarily sand it down so it looks better.
Yeah.
So why would you want to do that to the skin per se?
Yeah, yeah. I say people torture their skin
They do.
in the hope that that is going to make it or force it to look smoother.
Mm-hmm.
And with the soft peels in the beginning, the cool peels, the people were sort of saying, no, this is stupid. You're repeating it once a month for 6 months, you get a nice result, but who wants to wait 6 months?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I often think that sometimes with those very aggressive exfoliation treatments, they're nearly like a cheat because they're trying to give the illusion of what topical vitamin A gives permanently, but they give it for 2 days, but you pay the price.
Yes.
Actually, speaking of cheats, I have created a series of kind of hacks or cheats when it comes to Environ Skincare to try and give my clients something that would feel like a professional treatment at home because they can't, of course, go to the clinic during this time of the pandemic. And of course, I was wondering, have you any like little twists on certain products that you do to give a more leveled up treatment, if you wish?
Well, you know what I do? I use the Advanced Elixir.
Okay.
I use the retinol.
Mm-hmm.
And I use so I've needled myself intensively.
Mm-hmm.
Then I do treatment. And I hold the probe
Mm-hmm.
2 beeps each position.
Okay. 2
Can you
beeps.
imagine it? It takes time. That's why I say 40 minutes.
Okay.
And so, but you'll be gratified with the results. Because my experience is this, that plus then you should do, I think, you've got the home peel.
Yeah, and I see
product there. So you tell the people, okay, now I would tell them, say, twice a week. You put on the LACM one in an even layer, just a little bit thicker than your cream.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not using too much, and you leave it on the skin for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so you've needled, you put this on, and then after that, you do your DF manual treatment.
Oh, okay. With the LACM on,
Yeah.
or with an... Okay, brilliant.
You take the LACM off in this
Okay.
particular case. Then you do your iontophoresis sonophoresis with the little DF mobile, and you hold it, as I said, 2 beeps, especially in the the problem areas. And if you like, on your upper lip, you might want to do 4 beeps.
Okay, brilliant.
And then you wait a while and you put on your creams.
Okay, excellent. Well, that's a
So,
real level up.
yes, actually, I'm a bit surprised. I thought it would look a bit more oily because I just finished that treatment that I described to you.
Okay.
And then I put on my sequence because I use sequence, the sequence cream plus and sequence serum 4 plus.
That's what
So,
I have here.
yes.
Love.
So I put that on and I looked at myself in the mirror and thought, well, I'm going to be a bit shiny. But I think maybe it's the light, how I put it, because I didn't want a bright light shining. Because when I looked at it in the beginning, it was like making my face too white and you couldn't see detail. And I especially wanted to show the finer detail of the skin.
I'm laughing to myself because yesterday we were speaking on text message and you were telling me this, and I kind of felt you were nearly warning me, and I was like, Des, send me a photograph of your skin, please. Because
Yes.
I could have landed in here with you looking in any way. You could be mid-needling. It would not be unusual.
Yes. But you certainly don't look your radiant best. So, that's
It's a work in
why
progress.
when you're doing this, but the recovery phase is quick, 2-3 days, and your skin is in its great phase. Oh, by the way, there's one added thing that I want to tell you, but you don't have it.
Okay, that's a tease.
When I operate on people, I make them wear what some people call a facial bra.
Okay.
It's a face support thing. Now, what I've been doing in this lockdown is putting this mask on virtually the whole day, because now I have a concept like this, that we want collagen lattice work to form under our skin. But if we wear the mask, then we hold it tight, and the distance is shorter than when you don't wear the mask, if you understand me.
Okay,
Can you
yeah.
understand that? And so the collagen network that gets created is a tighter network. That's what I think. I don't know if it's true. I'm trying it.
Okay.
But it's worth wearing every night. I make my patients who have surgery use this, and they complain. They say their partners don't enjoy going to bed with somebody with a mask like that. But I can tell you that if you said, look, this is for a week, that you're going to do this, that I believe will add something else to the rejuvenation procedure.
Very good. And tell me, Des, when you said that you used a revival mask with the DF machine, which setting would you use it with?
Now, I don't use the revival mask with the machine.
Okay.
I put the revival mask on after that treatment. What I have to tell you is that sometimes I've been doing this treatment twice a day during lockdown.
Okay.
And so one of my favorite things is to put on the revival mask, wait about 40 minutes, and then put on my final creams to give the time when I'm going to bed.
Okay.
So in other words, I realize that I'm sort of adding a kick onto the skin a bit more, but I'm doing this about 3 or 4 times a week right now. But I
Okay,
also, one of the reasons why I'm doing it 3 or 4 times a week is because I want it to last till the end of lockdown, because in our country, we cannot get anything.
okay.
Where if I run out of my products, I've run out of my product.
Des, that means we could all potentially run out of products. Even though we're not going to panic because it's starting to lift in other countries, and I'm sure South Africa will too.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's why I want to be a little bit sparing with some of my special products that I really like.
Well, Monica Tolan's has plenty at the moment, so we don't need to panic just yet. Des, let me just speak to you quickly because I'm getting quite conscious that I'm taking up a lot of your time now about needling. Of course, it's something that I trained with you over 10 years ago, and we've been doing very successful needling in the clinic, and at the moment we still can. I spoke to you briefly about this. I still work to get a bleed, be it a subcutaneous bleed, but I still like to get that depth. We don't do a needle where it's shallow, more shallow than that. Where do you stand on that?
I've done research work using needles from 0.5 upwards. Below 0.5, you're wasting your time.
Okay.
It's a very hard work to get some bleeding. 0.5, you can get it, and I can show you pretty good bleeding from 0.5. 0.7, yeah, upwards. 0.1 is great.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I feel about rolling, because I prefer rolling, I think I get better results from rolling.
Than a pen.
Yes. And when you think with the pen, there are many more holes made than with the roller. And when I designed the roller, it was specifically to not make so many holes, because the more holes you have, the more inflammation you're going to get, and the more loss of fluid you're going to have through the skin.
Okay.
So that's why I used the roller. And when in the beginning, I didn't think about it very carefully. Although I made the films, I was using a 3mm roller and getting somebody to film me rolling skin so that I could see where those needles were going, and if indeed they cut the skin, which they didn't. At that stage, when I did those films, nobody had even raised this issue of cutting skin. So they don't cut skin. But what I didn't realize, but which the films show very nicely, the needle rotates from that position through to that position.
At an angle.
Yeah, and it's through the same hole. There's only one hole while it's rotating like that. So I think it damages more blood vessels than just where the needle pricks.
Yeah.
So that, I believe, is the advantage of the roller, because then you've got one hole through which the blood can escape.
As opposed to
and
many.
that means that more blood stays in the skin. And the more blood that stays in the skin, it means the more platelets stay in the skin. And the more platelets that stay in the skin, the more growth factors. So that's why I think that there's a tremendous amount to think about with using a roller. And rather than the pen, because when you use the pen, one of the things that you find, you actually have to work quite hard before you get the degree of bleeding that you would notice from each hole of the roller.
I described it to a client, it's like trying to make a bleed by punching.
Yes.
You know, there's so much trauma to the surrounding tissue, so much inflammation. It's quite a traumatic treatment. Whereas I feel I have to work far less to get a bleed with my roller. And the bleed is the growth factors.
And you know that when I started this, I was using a pen type of device.
Mm-hmm.
And my patients were not at all happy for the first 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, admittedly, that inflammations made me think that, you know, the good results were coming from the inflammatory cascade. But with what I now know with the roller, um, uh, uh, we are not going for that inflammatory cascade. We're going for the growth factor release from the platelets. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and I believe that the negative results from pen needling are because of the inflammation.
Yeah.
And that's why I also stress that anybody who does the pen needs a tremendous amount of training. And it's a great idea to go and be trained by a tattoo artist. Because the tattoo artist will teach you how to read skin,
Mm-hmm.
to decide how you get, which way you're going to needle and so on. And you especially want to, you know, the big areas that they fill in one color.
Mm-hmm.
Or that type of tattooing.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to do that with a professional, and that way you will not make the problems that we see periodically from people who've had pen needling.
Yeah,
But
very good.
people who do pen needling, they cannot even contemplate doing needling once a week. If you'd say that to them, they'll say, no, there's no way that they can go through that appearance again and again and again. Whereas with the roller, we get the people to accept it.
I completely agree. I completely agree. In my 10 years experience, that's exactly what I have found. Thank you for clearing that up for me. Where do you see Environ in 10 to 15 years? What do you see for the future?
I see that we actually will be concentrating very much on the skincare professional. Thing is, I don't believe that skincare professionals face the problem of computers taking over. Computers are never going to take you over because everything that you do, computers won't be able to do. You know, maybe in 100 years' time, we might talk differently. But at this stage, no. But I think that the role of the skincare professional becomes more and more important with the passage of time. I do believe that I don't believe that global warming is a problem. I think that we're not at this stage, probably in about after the next mini ice age, we may go into a very hot phase. There's one of the predictions is that the next heating phase will be a very intense one, and but we will need skincare.
Des, I'm going to have to either wrap up or come back on with you. We're actually going to get cut off in 20 seconds, would you believe?
Yes.
I've never spoke this long before on an Instagram live, so I didn't know. Will we wrap up, Des, or do you want me to come back on? What do you think?
We'll wrap up.
Well, Des, thank you so much for everything you do and for your time, and we'll speak again soon. Stay safe and stay well.